like with the father over there? Because I know that's a question. Hey y'all, what's going on tonight? Um, this is Bakar Bay, your accountability coach. We just jumped in the middle of the conversation, but you are tuned in to the Seer Mastermind Show with Majida Bay, your financial conductor, and glorious queen leader. I think you can do your intro. Maurice Bay, the helpful trucker. You can find him on YouTube, and myself, Bakar Bay, your accountability coach at Habit to Greatness and Bo Bay _world. Um, we're here on a Friday night. We made it again. Give yourselves a where's the soundboard? I need some claps. Come on, Maurice, clap me up. Clap me up, Mo.
I'm about 3 feet from my desk, man, and everything is sitting over there.
Well, we'll just get a round of applause.
There you go.
All right, for everybody that made it up, hey, welcome. Man, tonight we're just gonna keep the conversations going as we've been doing every few weeks. Tonight we're gonna be talking about creating a win-win for everybody, whether you're working
everybody. You say it right. Everybody.
For everybody. All right. Urban Dictionary tonight. How you create the win-wins for everybody. And I think, all right, so initially we came into the week wanting to discuss like who's your ideal customer? How well do you know your customers, right? And then somehow the conversation evolved into what kind of value are you providing for them? You know, so I guess you have to know. We can't avoid the question of how well do you know your audience and what your audience is and how you're creating those win-wins. So I'm gonna pose the question to you all, and forgive me, I don't have my show notes here for the day because y'all switched it up on me last minute. I don't know. I had one thing in mind. Like I said, we were gonna talk about
I think he just gave us the title, but like the subject matter was still this. Okay.
Not important. Not that you're not important. Look, I knew she was gonna find her way in there. But as we're going through this week, we're going through the end of the year. I think it's really crucial and critical to understand like who you're serving. You know, whether that's working on your job. You know who's making the decisions on your future, on your income, right? So I'm curious, Majida. Oh yeah, go ahead, Maurice.
Before we get into that, can we finish the discussion that you started before Majida hit live?
No, we don't have to finish that discussion at all.
You can't finish that. Okay.
No, we can't. I can't. All right. So I'm curious, like who are the influences? I was asking about your daughter, and you know, seeing her in school, and some pessimistic thoughts sometimes that creep up or pop up. And me as an educator, like I listen and pay attention to children in different ways, probably more so than most parents. Let's be honest. So I pay attention more than most parents. This is from experience, not from I'm just throwing this up. Yeah. About and just educators have different insight, right? Because they're looking for how, you know, children develop you know, cognitively and how they respond to different types of people. As a matter of fact, I was having a conversation earlier today about another 4-year-old boy who's, you know, in pre-K, and you know, most of the kids he's with are 5 and
it's a 40. You said it's a 40-year-old boy that's in pre-K.
A 4-year-old,
my man,
4-year-old,
my man. Thank you.
But you know, the mother's concerned about his maturity, and I'm thinking, man, a 4-year-old, like nobody's mature at that age. Nobody's like really mature. He's just young. He's 4, right? Like it's nothing to overreact to.
So what is your question, sir?
I'm getting to it. So my question is, where do you feel, or where do you imagine? No, I'm sorry. No, as a parent, how do you teach your children? How do you inspire your children? Maybe that's the question. How do you inspire your children or encourage your children so that they're thinking positively about themselves and their future?
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. I am
Hey,
Zinga.
You don't want to talk to Uncle Maurice either?
No, we good.
right,
We good.
She
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
speak to me. That's what she does. Every time she see me, she got to speak.
No. You two things I want to address. One thing is you can't take what children do personally like that. So when she don't speak to me, you can't. It's just not like, well, you don't want to speak to Maurice. I tell, my daughter, just kind of thinking about that, going in the same line as that. I tell Yashe I love her regularly, but she's not as comfortable with telling me that as I am with telling her, right? But
and for the record, she's 11, so
but it has
who knows what's going through their mind.
But it has nothing to do with her not wanting to tell me that, or even not loving me. You know what I mean? It's like it don't have nothing to do with that. That's what I meant when I said like you can't take it personally like that. You know what I mean? Like when they don't talk to you, or when they do talk to you. Like, you can't take it that personally. Now, the second thing I would say, just to answer your question, I really don't, I don't know any other way than to demonstrate. That's really the only way I know. Like me and Yasmin have kind of had conversations on this before. And in my opinion, that it really is like your children need to see you encountering hardships, figuring out a solution and being positive about the solution and visualizing the solution and bringing it into fruition, like making it happen. Like your children need to see that process. Now, I would say that it may take a child a while to realize what they've seen and to reflect back on it and say, yo, my pop taught me how to do this, or my mother taught me how to do this at a young age. That may take a while, you know what I mean? But to answer your question, I really only know one way, and that's to demonstrate. Like me and Yashe have great conversations. I'm very comfortable with, you know what I mean, the level of interactions that she will allow me to have with her. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like, she it's hard to prod Yashia. It's hard to talk her into doing what she needs to do. Like, so the best thing to do is demonstrate it as far as she's concerned. That would be my response. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. That's a good point. So, in saying your children need to see you and demonstrating is how you know. At the same time, you say that you have great conversations. I'm really curious. In those conversations, who's generally talking the most?
Her.
Okay.
And how do you in our interactions with me and her. Yeah, her.
And I've been seeing or experiencing the opposite of that, or I see the opposite of that with some parents. And we're gonna apply this actually to, your business, because
Yashe is my audience at this point.
That's your audience right now, right? So
there's the tie-in right there.
Yeah. For those that are parents, we're not just talking about parents, but those that are entrepreneurs. We're also talking to you and your clientele, your audience, whether you're a content producer or whatever. We want to help them have a conversation. Who's having the conversation? Who's talking the most, right? How do you get your daughter talking the most?
That's a question you want me to ask?
That's my question to you. How do you get your daughter talking the most?
I let her take the lead and I ask follow-up questions.
All right.
I let her take the lead. She'll say the statement or the issue or the story or the line or whatever she wants to say, and then I'll ask a follow-up question based on that, which gets her to talk a little bit more. And then from, it's just a series of follow-up questions, essentially. I'm not doing that strategically or deliberately. That's just kind of how the conversation unfolds between me and her.
Okay. So she brings ideas to you.
100%. She just brings ideas. You can even take off the to me part. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to say that
she just brings ideas. That's what she does.
I want to bring it to the context of you, because there may be others that she brings ideas to, but how they respond doesn't turn into a conversation, but turns into a lecture, right? Mm-hmm. And again, entrepreneurs, you're the parent in this situation, all right? So Maurice is talking about let your audience take the lead and you ask follow-up. But sometimes we put ourselves in a position that, we're the ones that know everything. So when we get presented an idea, it's like, we gotta vomit on them to say, show or tell them all the things we think.
Good analogy, I would say.
I'm good at this.
I would say that's a good analogy.
So we may find ourselves vomiting on our customer, our audience,
our target,
thinking that we're answering a question or responding to something that they may not even have asked for, that you get eager and be like, all right, I got all this knowledge, I got to put it out there, right? So going on our conversation today, from what I've seen, what I've experienced, again, going back to the parent-child relationship, that the child doesn't win when they get lectured, when they're being lectured, right?
Even if they do win, they don't know it.
Yeah, their brain is absorbing information, but they may not be learning or learning to respond to it in the way that's intended, right? There's an emotional response or whatever it is that they may not be learning or experience it in the way that you intended. It's just like, oh, I want to like force all of this knowledge in you, but it's not like asking enough follow-up questions, like you're saying, to better understand what it is the child really wants to express. And that frustrates me. So tonight I'm going to play the client and I want to talk with Majida and Maurice about how do you create that win-win situation when the client has a question but may not really know how to articulate it, and how do you get to being able to serve them or provide a solution that's beneficial to you as well as to them? Because I might just be a hard-headed, ignorant person, and I got questions, but I don't really know what to do or how to express it. So how would you work? How would you help somebody who's brings a question to you, but maybe don't have a lot of clarity on how to lay that question out to you?
What you took,
General.
what you're, and I'll go quick. What the generally what you're talking about, what I'm hearing you say, the remedy to that, I've said this before in my YouTube videos, it's gonna sound off topic, but it's really not. I recommend, if a person could, that everybody spends some time in the sales profession, because what I'm hearing you say, we always said in sales, a good salesperson is a skillful question asker. So I think that's where it's key at, like asking the questions to elicit the information from your target. Like you don't necessarily have to put the information in them. Like, they know, they have common sense. It's just a matter of pulling the information out of them. And then it's really only a conversation if there's a back and forth. Does that make sense? So what I just now did, does that make sense? That's something that they do in sales as well. Like, when you finish talking, like follow it up with a question. Doesn't it, shouldn't it, couldn't it, wouldn't it, right? These are all things that inspire the other person to talk, right? And like, it's the person that's also something I'm thinking about that a person would learn in sales is it's the person that's asking the questions that is in control of the conversation, that is directing the path in the course of the conversation. So like, how do you deal with the person that comes to you with a question that may not have the clarity? And then, going back to your first point, without getting into a lecture with them, it's a matter of asking those skillful, those strategic, I should say, those strategic follow-up questions, not based on what you want to say next, but based on what they said last. Based on what you want to say next makes them feel like you didn't hear them. Based on what they said last, it's just the next logical, it's where the, you know what I mean? In their mind, it's like, okay, he heard me and he's responding from the perspective of hearing me. So the person will be a lot more prone to want to continue talking, right? You can't plant seeds in infertile soil, and trying to deliver an idea to a mind that is not open is the same thing. And so you got to get the mind open. And the way you do that is by conversing, by inspiring the conversation, by getting that person to talk.
I'm glad you bring that point up, because I think that's what I was feeling as I experienced it a couple times this week. It's like somebody was trying to force the information into a child. And sometimes, again, when I'm out, I'm looking at content all week long. And good content is usually inviting content.
Mm-hmm.
It sparks some kind of curiosity or connects with something that's that you've been thinking about or been experienced, or maybe was a blind spot that pops up. You're like, oh man, I want to know more about that, and so it draws you in. Um, on the other hand, there's content that's just like that's attempting to force a whole lot of information into you, and that's usually off-putting to people. Usually
Yeah.
off-putting, right? Like you're giving me all of this, but like I didn't ask for none of them, so I'm gonna swipe pass. All right. I'm curious, Majid, your thoughts. Um, you probably be wondering what the question is, right?
No, I would say one thing is to seek first to understand, then to be understood. I know we've probably all heard the adage that um, listen, don't listen to respond, listen to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in understanding your audience and understanding your children, like you got to listen. I actually said this to somebody yesterday. Um, yeah, I think it was yesterday. Like we were, and I've heard this from somewhere else, but we have two ears and one mouth. Use them in
Proportionally.
proportionate.
Yeah. I
And
love that, by the way.
but they said to me that like I'm a good listener because I don't, like I'm listening, um, and I could say maybe this is a skill that I've developed is just asking questions, right? Just asking questions. Like I know I don't know everything. However, the things that I do know, I am pretty certain of, right? Like I'm sure of. And so I'm asking questions because most people don't know what they want. They don't know um where to start, right, or who to turn to. And I was actually listening to a podcast earlier today, and it was in reference to the 120 conference that we were at a few weeks ago. And the one of the speakers told the audience, stop saying I don't know. Right? Like there is something that you do know, go with that. Like use that to help you move forward. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we're talking about a client um salesperson relationship or a follower and an influencer relationship, whatever
It's
the
all
case
the same dynamic.
yeah, like wherever the case may be, understand that there's something that you know that they don't know. That's why they're coming to you, right? And so really, I I actually heard this on the podcast too, and I caught it because it reflected, some of who I kind of the way I see myself. But he was like, become a conductor in every area of your life, right? And so I think about I'm just pointing people in the direction to get the next. There's so much information that I can provide, but I want them to. I can't take them where I haven't gone. So after
Mm-hmm.
they've gotten what they can get from me, then I'm putting them or pointing them in a direction to where they can get more information, right? They can find that next step. Um, and so I would say one of the other things, the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves and others. So just ask questions. Be interested, not interesting. All right, this is all stuff we've heard in sales meetings or trainings. Uh, the book "How to Win Friends and Influence People." Like it's about the other person, and
Mm-hmm.
so when you're offering something, when you're selling, it's like it's not about you. It's about adding value to other people. Like at the end of the day, like that should be the purpose. Like how can I enhance or help other people improve their lives? Um, in the show I did earlier this week with John, that's one of the things we talked about. Like all it, from the conversations that we have here, conversations I have with him. Y'all know social media is not like my gig. Like that is not my thing. However, I know that there are things that I have learned that have helped to free me mentally that I know other people could benefit from. I may not be able to show them like how to get to this point, like mentally, like that's some inner work they got to do. But
Mm-hmm.
if by having these conversations in front of people for them to hear and for them to see, maybe it'll give them some things to think about. Maybe it'll help them ask questions that they haven't thought about before. so that it can start to unlock those keys for them so that they can move forward in their lives. And that's really like my only hope. It ain't the money, the like all of that stuff. The stuff doesn't matter, right? Like, it's really being able to impact people and in some measure be of significance in the lives of others. Like, why else? Why else are you here on this planet if you're not going to impact other people's lives? And so, to go back to your analogy, you know, or you were referencing like the children. With my children, it's asking questions, right? But when Maurice talked about like modeling, right? That's the we're watching the Karate Kid, the newer version, last night, and you know the exercise of taking off the jacket, dropping it, picking it back up, hanging it up, right, putting it back on. And he made the statement that like kung fu is in everything, and so it's helping people to make a connection to something that they already know, and being able to see that in everything, like the
Great analogy.
The connection that you have to your faith, right? You can use that with your finances, in your family, in your profession, right? Like, it's all connected. So if kung fu is in everything, then faith is in everything, and belief is in everything, and work ethic is in everything, right? Like, you can connect it to a lot of different things. You just have to be able to make that connection. And oftentimes we compartmentalize. Oh, I'm this person on my job. I'm this person in my faith. I'm this person in my family. And the reality is, no,
it's all connected.
It should all. You should be the same person in all of those. Yes. All right.
A little commercial break.
So yeah, I'll turn it back over to you.
No, that's a good point. And actually, I would like to put y'all on the spot tonight as she walks away.
I'm sure she can still hear you. No, hopefully she can.
I'll share it. But I'd like to put you all on the spot tonight. And I'm going to play the role of let's say the frustrated marketer, right? Like, I have a message and I have some value that I want to get out there to the market, but I don't quite know how to present that value. And so I'm gonna ask you all how you just do based on what you do or what you know. It could be in any area of your life. I want you all to see how can you add value to me as a frustrated marketer who has a message but doesn't quite know how to get it out there. How can you add value and create a win-win where I'm able to get my message and you're able to earn my trust or my confidence, or my attention.
I have a tried and true method to handle this. I didn't develop it consciously. It just, to me, it just one of those things that just makes sense. So where I would start at with you is I would add, and you don't have to come up with this stuff right now.
No, we're gonna role play it.
All right. Well, I mean, I would ask you first of all, what is this message that you want to get out? That's the first thing I would ask you. Now, again, for the sake of like keeping this, clean, you don't need you coming up with a message right now. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to go through that. I mean, unless you really, really want to. But the first thing is I would ask you to clarify what your message is.
All right.
Right. Get it out. And once you understand what your message is, I would want to know how.
Here's my message. I want parents and educators to listen to the children. That's my message.
Okay. So the next thing the next step that I would go to once we clarify, and obviously we would want to get a little bit more clarity on that, but the next place that I would go to, generally speaking, is how did that topic become relevant to you in your life? What's the story behind why that topic makes a difference to you? And I would pull that out of you. I would dig and dig and dig to try to get you to tell me what happened in your life that made that topic relevant.
All right. So the story, I'm gonna give you a story because I'm actually just lay it out and role play with you as we're going through this. So, and the story is, I saw a sad child being lectured about something they said or did or felt.
Okay. Now, the next step to that I would want to pull out in that story is I need that story to connect to you and how that thing affected you. So, we would want to get you to the point that you could say, all right, this started with me seeing a child get talked to in this way, and it turned me off. And the reason it turned me off is because when I was little, such and such used to do that to me, and I wouldn't stop there. Okay, so how did that make you feel, Bakar, when such and such, when so and so used to do that to you? Your answer would...
I'm following you. I want to be careful. Don't answer for me, because that's something
again,
that I often see is done.
Well, again, I'm really just doing that now just for the sake of keeping it clean and not like, you know what I mean? Like, you can go ahead and make up a storyline or you know what I mean? Go ahead.
That's what I would like to do.
Okay. All right.
I want to see if y'all can just look.
So yeah, let's connect that story to you.
So yeah, all right. We'll go back to the beginning. I saw a sad child being lectured about something they said or did, and no, started with I want parents and educators to listen to the children. And after seeing this experience, it connected me to, my time as an educator and recognizing that children oftentimes will shut down when they're not heard.
Okay.
And I empathize with the child who is being lectured to is not being heard.
Okay.
And I can feel that's the source of this sadness. It's like, you're not hearing me. You're telling me all of this stuff, but you're not hearing me. And since you're not hearing me, I don't have anything to say to you.
Okay.
Now I don't have any response. I don't have anything. I'm shutting down. I'm closing you out. I'm ignoring you. I want to tune out because I'm not getting any value out of this lecture because I'm not being heard.
Okay. Now I would still want to go a step further to connect what you felt. There's a reason why what you felt in that child resonated with you. And I would want to get down to the story in your life of when you weren't being heard. I would want to get all the way down to that, how that made you feel and how you feel in hindsight that situation should have been handled differently with you, and the benefits of how, if that situation had been handled differently with you, this is how you probably would have responded. That's the next place that I would want to go to with that. You understand that? Or you want me to repeat that? I'd want to tie what you just now. So something that you saw that child feeling, I would assume resonated really with you. And I'm assuming that the reason it resonated with you is because you have been in that same position at some point in your life. Is that a safe assumption? Yes or no?
We won't make assumption. I'll just make up I'll share a story. You're right. So at some point in my life, I felt like I had an idea about something that I wanted to do, and then somebody presented me, or I did something that was out of alignment with what somebody else wanted, and so they told me this is what they wanted, but it wasn't what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And so I learned to do what they wanted, but it wasn't for my reasons. It was for their reasons.
Okay.
Right? For example, like getting a job. Somebody telling me, man, I have to go to work. And I was like, whoa, why do I have to go to work?
Okay. What were the negative effects of how they handled you in that situation? And also, what would have been some benefits had they have handled the situation like you feel they should have handled it?
I don't understand.
What are some negative? So this individual, right? You're being lectured to. Like you say, you're at the point that you're shutting down and you're not hearing them, but you take their advice because you're just tired of being lectured. Did that turn? How did that turn out for you, good or bad? My assumption, and I'm just going. I know you said don't
Long term, it
assume.
wasn't favorable.
I would. My
I
assumption is it
learned
wasn't.
stuff along the way, but it wasn't the outcome that I
Yeah.
wanted. Right.
My assumption is it wasn't favorable. And the same way, this is what you saw in that child.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is what you saw. So that's why my assumption was it didn't turn out favorable for you. If it had turned out favorable for you in that situation, you may would have felt differently when you saw that child getting lectured.
So what I was feeling when I saw the child be lectured was this isn't helping them.
Okay. All right. Okay. I got you. So now the situation didn't turn out good for you in that situation, right? You got lectured. You did what they told you to do as a result of just getting tired of going through it, but you're shut down. So how should they have handled it? And if they did handle it, how you feel they should have handled it, what would have been the difference in the outcome, you believe?
Okay. So starting by asking me what I wanted out of the situation.
Okay.
As opposed to being like showing genuine interest or curiosity.
Makes sense.
And again, I'm thinking about like the child showing genuine interest or curiosity. And similar to what you mentioned earlier, ask me questions about things that I said, not about things that sparked them to want to go into a lecture.
Okay.
Right?
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So really to ask me questions to help me work through what I'm thinking through. And if they want to lead me in a certain direction, do it through inquiry, right? Do it through questioning and curiosity, and not making statements and declarations or making commands.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, please.
Because I got like one or two more steps, and then I'm gonna shut up.
Go ahead, Maurice.
You can interject if you want.
So,
I don't want you to forget what you're gonna say.
No, I'm not. I would say a couple things. One, have you considered that what you experienced was probably the norm for most children? And because you have an awareness now, and maybe even then, of the impact, the responsibility now is for you to change that. Like, had you not gone through that experience, you wouldn't have the desire to help children in that way. Does that make sense?
That piece does. I'm aware of it. That's why I feel like I could do something about it.
Okay, so do something about it, right? Like, you couldn't do anything about it then, but you can do something about it now. And I would say don't disempower yourself, or you can't project what you expected somebody else to do based on you. Like, they did what they did based on their understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so see it from that perspective, right? Like, we all do the best that we can, kind of going back to the parent analogy. There's no rule book. You do the best that you can, but that doesn't mean that my daughter won't, be 16 and 18 and 20 and hate me, right? Like, I don't know. All I can do is do the best that I can with the information that I have. And if, they grow up and there is some, tension or friction in our relationship, I can learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And something that I did was, because of certain experiences in my own childhood, I made a decision that as a parent, I would choose to be open to conflict or to being questioned by my children, right? I just left that door open because it may have been something that I maybe didn't have the opportunity. Like, children when we grew up, were seen and not heard, right? The children had a place. And so I think what Maurice has said this before, I want to say on the show, is that the problems of the past generation are solved by subsequent generations, something to that effect. And so, like, we're constantly evolving as human beings, and so through that evolution, we're unfolding, right? We're knowing ourselves better. Um, Sometimes we allow external circumstances or external situations to dictate who we are, who we become. And I think we're getting to a point where we're starting to start from the inside out, right? Like we're not allowing the outside to, right? We're starting from the inside out and becoming um, or using our connection, whatever you want to call it, right? We're starting from there and allowing us to impact our environment versus our environment influence or impact us. But I think it's a process, right? Like I often take into consideration, the era that we grew up in. If you think about this country, the history of this country, like, all right, we were raised by parents who went through segregation and integration. So they had a different mindset about what was appropriate because they had to think more about safety. And so their perspective on things may have come from, I got to keep my children safe. Well, in today's era, you still have to keep your children safe, but it's not from the same challenges that they may have faced, right?
Right.
So understanding those cultural or societal influences in how their perspective may have dictated their actions. So
Cool.
that was all.
What I got from that is understanding that people are doing their best, and if you see that their best isn't necessarily serving, that you have a responsibility to step in. Right.
I mean, their best is their best. It may not be your best.
No, that's fine. I'm focused on the child, not necessarily the adult. We're like, oh, this isn't serving the child. They think they're doing their best to help them, but I'm seeing.
I mean, but who are adults? Adults are just older children.
That's an oversimplification, but I agree with you 100%.
We are jump back in real quick.
Yeah, come on, Maurice.
Yeah, I want to jump back in. I got to jump back in because all that I went through just now would be for naught if I couldn't, bring it to a culmination, right? So, and also I want to also reiterate. I believe what we're talking about is the idea that you, Bakar, are already sold on the importance of this message that you want to share. You just don't know how to get it out. So I think that's what we're talking about right now. Not necessarily whether, but it's like, how do I get this message out? I got a message, right? So I want to I'm gonna kind of summarize and go right back to where we started from, right? Just real quick. So we started with like your story, figuring out the story. Why this message that you have, that this individual has, whoever this is, whoever may be listening to this, you in this situation, Bakar, why this message became relevant, why it's important to you. So we're trying to find. So the first thing I would try to do is get you to verbalize the story of why this message became important to you. Tell me what you saw that say, you know what, this is something that needs to be put out, right? So once I can get you to identify the situation that made you feel like this message needs to be spotlighted, I would want to go a step further and make sure I connect whatever you saw that made you understand that this message needs to be spotlighted. Like I would want to personalize that. I'd want to make it, I want to tie it into your own story. Okay, so you saw a person getting treated a certain way. That's what made you feel that this is a message that is really important to get out. The next step I would go to that is, okay, what is it in your past that happened to you that made you connect with how you believe this person is feeling that you saw getting treated this way? So now I'd want to take that story that you saw, or that person that you saw, and I'd want to connect it to your personal story, your personal background. There's a reason why I would go through all of this. Again, this ain't nothing that I've read or anything. This just makes logical sense in my mind.
Okay.
So once I get you to connect what you felt in that individual to something that's happened to you. Once we get you to that point, then I would want you to verbalize what is it that individual could have done differently in handling that situation with you in your own personal past. I'd want you to identify or verbalize some negative effects that you believe came from how they handled it with you. And I would also want you to identify what you believe some different things that they could have done would have been, right? And Majida a minute ago kind of got into why people do the things that they do, but I wouldn't like, and just trying to help you pull out the story, like I would really just stay with, okay, you know, what is it that you believe this person could have done differently? And what do you think the effects would have been on you had they done it differently?
Okay.
Once I get you
the effects.
Exactly. So once I get you to that point, then, or once you're at that point, then I would go back to the current story that you saw. Okay, so now we're back at you watching this person, this child, this prospect get verbally, I don't want to say verbally abused, but get talked to in a way that they don't like. And I would say, I would say, okay, now based on what you just told me, how you think the situation should have been handled differently when it happened to you, what do you think the effects of this situation that you saw would have been if that person would have handled it the way that you are saying the person from your past should have handled it? Are you following me on that? Right. So you say, all right, well, if they would have handled it the way that I'm saying this person should have handled it from my past, then the effects would have been the same on them. They would have felt like they were being heard. They would have done this. They would have done that. I truly believe. And the reason I believe that is because I've been in that situation. And this is how I would have felt if a person had handled it. So now you got the story, you got the personal story to help another person. Like I've been where you are. This is how it made me feel. And in hindsight, I now realize this is a better way to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're going to connect that to the contemporary story, essentially. Right. Okay. So to me, the reason I would need to go, and I would call that the work. Getting an individual to identify all of that, because all of those elements are like, at that point, it's like, okay, now for the most part, just go out and tell your story. Like, just go out and spell out the problem. There was a problem. This is the problem that I see all across America, in homes all across America, in relationships all across America. You lay out practical examples like the one that you saw that everybody can say, yeah, I've seen that happen before. And then you lay out your solution for that problem based on you going through that situation yourself, right? And then you tell that story. Like, so it's not really a matter of how do I get this message out or all that. It's okay, just tell that story. Okay. And one more piece another piece, I won't say one more because I'm sure there's several pieces I left out, but another piece that you would want to identify in that is, who are you talking to? Who are the individuals in this world that have experienced that same problem of being lectured to the point that they turn off? Maybe young children are being lectured to the point that they turn off. Maybe college students are being lectured to the point that they turn off. Maybe employees in certain fields or disciplines are getting lectured so much that they turn off. Maybe salespeople sometimes get lectured so much that they turn off. And these are the people that you like once you identify who you're talking to, you connect with them by speaking about the problem.
I love it. That's
sorry to lay all that out. But to me, that is the work in that.
Here's my summary, because I definitely want to make sure that it's people are grasping what we're talking about here. As we're talking about, again, creating win-wins for the people that you serve, right? Win-win solutions for the people that you serve. What I heard was, find the problems that you connect with, tell that story, and how you would solve that problem, or how you have solved that problem.
Exactly.
Right. And then that takes us to the original conversation we came in, is, who are you sharing that story or solution with? Because those are the ones that need to hear it. So I'm gonna put up a big mirror, and I'm gonna talk to Majida first, and then we'll come back to you, Maurice. Is your story has value? Your story has value. That's what we're going to talk about. And through sharing your story with certain individuals, you're able to create win-wins by being able to provide the solutions that you come across in your own story, right?
I would agree.
That's based on what we just said. So Majida, who are you who who's resonating with your story?
All the
Who's
single
your...
ladies, all the single
I love it. Needs some energy, right? Who's resonating with your story? And you can share like a brief story and say, okay, here's something I saw in my life. I know that you do.
This is a story that I would tell almost like 100% of the time when I meet a new prospect. I was just like, I went to school, I got good grades, I got a good job. I came out, bought a house 6 months after graduating. I went from college student broke to house and car broke, and I was financially frustrated. Any college graduate can relate to that story in terms of you go get this degree to come out, and then you're not able to really live the life that you wanted to live. And so oftentimes I always say my message is to professionals, right? Typically students coming out of college, but also parents, right? So after becoming a parent and more specifically being a single mother, it was like people don't appreciate what we do to care for our children, right? And so I know my message started to when I was speaking specifically to mothers and single mothers who were, maybe the breadwinners in their household. Maybe they had a partner, but like they were managing children, huh?
They bailed.
No. The partner was like around, but like the mother's, she's working a full-time job. She's taking care of the children, and like the partner may or may not have been contributing as much, right? So that's another story for another day. But the idea was that like you are valuable, right? Like you as the individual, not what you do, right? Like for everybody else, but like you have value. And that was something that I had to like come to understand, that like my identity for a long time was attached to what I could do, right? Like how I could serve other people.
Right.
And I think in becoming a mother and recognizing like all of the balls you got to juggle, getting children to school and making lunches and breakfast and making sure they get up on time and baths and brushing teeth and make sure they do the homework and get into practices. Like that's of value. And if a person does not appreciate that value, so I'm talking to the mothers out there, if the person in your life, the people in your life don't appreciate your value, you may need to get around some new people or let some people go. And I'm like unapologetic about that. Like I know what I have to do on a daily basis to like function. And I know because of the things that I'm aspiring to do and the way that I want to provide for my family, I can't be around or surrounded by people who are not going to support or appreciate the value that I bring. And I think, I don't know if you said this earlier or for something else too, but like you got to know your value, right? Like I am valuable, period, point blank. Like as I am enough and I am valuable. And for those that are listening, who are mothers, who are daughters, who are like your givers, your supporters, right? Like you do it all. You are valuable, and don't let anyone take your value for granted.
And it's interesting as you were talking. I'm thinking about again the role you play as a financial advisor professional. I was hearing that message as you were talking to mothers. You told them, man, get around people who are going to help you see and understand your value. And I heard one of those objections, like, well, I'm not financially in a position to be able to do some of these things that I want to do on my own. And to me, it's like, now that's a problem that you saw for single moms. It's like, I know that you're in this space where you're doing a whole lot, but still don't feel like you can do enough. That's why it's so important for you to have and get your financial house and plan and strategy in order for you to be able to better serve those that, you add value to as a mom, you say.
I would say even more importantly, what you mean get off you? You
Throw on the bed. Throw it. Just like Tucker. Just Tucker.
Right. What are you doing?
Tucker, right?
No, if you do that, she gonna come back and want you to do it again. Do it again. Right. Do it again.
Hold on, that's when I walk
even
away
more
from
important than like because I did what I even when it came to finances, like I did what I thought was right. Like I was putting money away, I had protections, I was saving, I was investing, and then I had storm come through due to the relationship that I was in, right? So the people that I was associated with like impacted me being able to move in the direction I wanted to move. So that's why like who you surround yourself with is so important. But even beyond like just the finances is having clarity on your vision. Because when you are clear about your values, it becomes easy to make decisions. Like you don't choose to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to hold you back when you're clear about your values. But if you don't know your value, then you accept or settle for less than what you are worth because you don't know who you are. So like know your value, know who you are, and it'll be easier to make certain decisions to not be around certain people or to choose to be around certain people. So, something that I've been learning over the last couple of weeks is just the idea of like the relationships that you're in. Sometimes we'll sabotage our own success because we don't feel that we're worthy of or that we deserve what we desire. Right? Like we're growing past maybe the people around us and we don't want to leave people behind or we don't want to feel alone. And so we can settle into this place where we're good with enough, right? We accept just good enough when that's not really what we want. But if you're around people who tells you that what you want is too much or what you desire is, you're doing
wrong in any kind of way.
Right. Yeah, our natural tendency is to want to fit in with those who are influential, who
get around some other people who are like, go get
familiar.
it, go get what you want, right? Like, yeah, you if you want that, go get it, and it's that exposure, right? If you're not exposed to a greater vision or different associations, then
hard to see it for yourself.
Exactly.
So you're out there for the single mothers, all the single mothers.
Yo, I want to piggyback on something Majida said real quick, if you don't mind.
Keep it rolling, man.
Majida spoke about just now. You need to know your value. I want to take just 2 minutes to address, in my opinion, I think that's a pretty important subject. How to know your value. I think that kind of ties into the whole 15-minute lecture that I just finished giving a few minutes ago. How to know your value. So to the individual that heard Majida say that and thought when she said it, I don't know my value, because there are a lot of people that struggle, I would say, with knowing their value. To me, this goes back to understanding the problem, kind of like what we already talked about, the problems that you've had in your life that you have overcome. So we talked earlier about, seeing this individual not getting treated like they want to, identifying and connecting it to your own story, right? And then understanding how that impacted you and how it could have impacted you differently had it been handled differently. To me, that right there is what could give an individual a sense of value. Like once I realized that in my own life, I was lectured unnecessarily, and this is the negative result it produced, and this is the positive result that it could have produced had the situation been handled differently. Okay, to the individual that is going through that and looking for a solution, your story has value. That's where that comes from. That's why I tell people that. That's how I come to that conclusion. It's not something that I just tell people just to get them excited and feel good about themselves. The reason I can confidently say to a person, because I've said this to several people, your story has value, is once we identify what's relevant, what's the problem that you overcame in your story, and then we understand that there are other people out there that have that same problem, and your story is the tip of the solution for their problem. It's like they have a disease, they have a situation, and you have the solution, right? And so once you understand that, if you know an individual has a condition and you have the solution, is what you have valuable? I don't care how bad you feel about, think about that. I don't care how bad you feel about yourself or how low you feel about yourself. If you had it in a pill bottle, something else that what you knew was the cure to somebody else's condition, you can feel like you're the lowest, like I ain't never done nothing in my life, but I know that this person has this condition, and I know that what's in this pill bottle that I have will cure that condition. You're going to approach that person from a value perspective. Like what I have is going to help you. Bottom line, you're not going to be sold. I don't care how many times they say no, or how many times they say, I don't want to look at it, or how many times they say, well, is that really the solution? Like nothing that they can say, no amount of resistance that they could put up would convince you that what you have isn't valuable for them. So to me, that's the key in identifying the problems that you've had in your life that you have come up with a solution for. Once you get to that point, and then you realize there are other people that have this problem, you ain't got no choice but to feel valuable, if to nobody else, to the people that are having that problem. So it's how to get a good grasp of what your value is, and how to know you're valuable, and how to feel more valuable. Identify the problem that you've had in your life, identify the solution, and then identify that there's other people, come to the conclusion that there's other people that are behind you in that journey. And yeah, you should see yourself as a value add to anybody that's behind you in that journey. Like you should believe it in yourself. And one more thing, and then I'll be quiet. I'm sorry about this. But you know, like John and me and Majida was talking before on a live stream that we did on my channel about establishing value. And I gave the example of real estate. So like real estate, if it's not managed properly, then the market won't value it, right? And so we're talking about how to know your value. The difference in us and humans and a piece of real estate is, a piece of real estate, if it's managed well, it'll hold its value. It'll grow in value possibly. If it's not managed well, it'll lose value. The difference in us as individuals is we are not being managed, or we shouldn't be being managed by someone else. Our management of ourselves should not be outsourced. We shouldn't be looking to the market to determine our value. Going back to what Majida was talking about, like in this world nowadays in 2021, you have got to be able to establish your own value. And so the difference in us maintaining value and holding value as opposed to a piece of real estate is, a piece of real estate is being managed by someone else, and us, unless we give someone else that authority, we have the ability to manage ourselves and determine our own value. And if you're having a problem doing that, just go through the exercise that I just done went through, figuring out the problems that you've had and overcome in your life and who would benefit from that.
So I'm hearing from what you just shared, and then you can go real quick, is so when you're able to provide someone else with a better way to manage their own value, you create a win-win situation.
I would say yes.
Cool. Go ahead, Majida.
It's first understanding, though, that you aren't alone. Like you're not the only one that went through
100%.
whatever you went through.
100%.
Because oftentimes people are like, oh, you know, I went through this.
We feel like our problems are so special.
Yeah. They're not so like, and I think for me, when you talk about like my own story, like and sharing my own story, I was like, I can't be the only person coming out of college with an engineering degree and not understand money. So like the solution was to become financially literate. And that's something that anybody can do. So it wasn't even about them coming to me for the solution. It was conducting, right? Saying, look, you need to become financially literate. You need to read some books. You need to get around somebody. You need to have somebody to help you manage and plan for your finances. That's all I did, right? It's not about me. It's showing people that there's a path to get the information that they need. But it's first being aware that there's a problem that needs to be solved, right? I could have been like, yo, I'm balling, right? Like, I got this degree in engineering, but learning to self-assess, as CJ says, right? I was able to self-assess and recognize that, like, this can't be life, right? Like, this can't be all that I have to look forward to, going to work, living paycheck to paycheck and just getting by. Like, that can't be all there is after putting in this work. But something that I've learned, in recent years is never stop growing. Right? Like, that's even part of the process, right? So, like, financial literacy and education was another area that I could grow in. But as I was growing in that area, I stopped growing in other areas, or I didn't focus as much in others, right? But, like, we should be in a process of continual growth and getting better in every area of our lives, right? Like a constant study of oneself. And so if unfortunately we're taught to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and the learning stops. Once you get that job, there's no external force telling you gotta go learn. You gotta continue to learn. But
all right, and I think we can all agree that that's not all that's being shared in this day and age, right? And I know
that's not what
that's not the only narrative that's out there in the mainstream nowadays.
I agree.
I know that there is, and I don't want to take away from your message there, but I don't want to take away from your message, because there are many people who are still hearing that same message: go to school, get a good job, get good grades, get a good job. And I really feel like, from what I see, and on that, the jig is up on that. Okay, the jig is up. Like, we are in a entirely different economic climate where what is it? You got, I don't know, post-pandemic, like, excuse me.
Yeah, but you know what though? Yeah, I would agree with what you said, Majida, and what you're saying, Bakar. But I think here is some evidence of what Majida is saying. And I'm just going on what I see in my world. I can only say, like, ain't nobody reading in my world. If I had to guess, like, to a few people that I can think of right off the top of my head, I would just be guessing and assuming, and you shouldn't do that. But if I'm thinking about a few people that I know and associate with, and I had to guess when the last time they read a book, I mean, I don't hang around nobody that's not, I wouldn't say is intelligent or not smart, but I can't, like, I think people that they knew me and they were thinking about somebody in their circle that may still read books, they may think about me. But it isn't very few people that I can think of in my circle that I would say, yeah, I would say that person probably still regularly reading books. Like, most people ain't read, they get out of school, and like, we know we supposed to keep learning, but
like, we don't know. To know, you must be what you know. So people don't know that they need to continue to learn. And even when you talk about this current era, people are, what do they call it? They're shortcutting the process, right? They got all these life hacks. Like, you can go make money, right? And everybody focuses on, I can make money real quick, or I can trade in the market, or I can start a business. But, like, if you still don't understand money principles, starting a business, making a bunch of money don't really serve you, because your habits as it relates to money haven't changed. If you haven't learned the habits, right? There we go. If you haven't learned the habits associated with good money management, if you haven't learned to manage little, how can you be trusted with much? And so, like, that's the part of learning. Like, we don't learn that in school. When you talk about personal development, I ain't talking about, like, reading books on biology and chemistry and psychology, right? Like, that's great if that's what you want to learn about. I'm talking about learning
mindset,
information that you can apply to your life,
or
right?
skill set, not just mindset, a skill set. Like there are many truckers in my world that, in times of change in the trucking community, rates go down, fuel prices just jumped maybe 60 or 70%, 60 or 70 cents, excuse me, at the pump. And now we have people in the trucking industry similar to what you're saying, Bakar. They're young and they know when they come into the trucking industry that this is not their home. So they're here to make money, but they still making sure they planting seeds in other places. And then you got old school truck drivers, or what I would say is an older way of thinking, more indicative of what Majida is talking about, where they're like, yo, I'm just going to become a truck driver and I ain't going to ever have to do anything else. And then when the trucking industry changes, it's like, what to do now? You feel lost because all of this time you've just been driving a truck. You haven't been building any other skill set. You haven't been learning anything else. You haven't been planting any other seeds. You haven't been trying to create any other income streams. And now it's 15 years later and you're at the point that I would say everybody gets to every so often in their life. You're at a crossroad. And it's like, you know, if I keep going in this direction, it's because I'm forced to. You know, many truck drivers, they don't stop driving, not because they don't want to, but because they don't feel like they have any other option. To me, that's the result of not planting any other seeds and kind of just getting content. So one represents the people that come in and they feel like once they get that CDL, their learning has stopped. They just got to get good at driving the truck. They ain't got to learn nothing else. And you got another group of people that realize, yo, when I come in this industry, who knows, something could happen next week that make me be like, I'm gone, and I want to always stay ready so that when that happens, I've done, you know, I've lined my ducks up in a row. And I kind of agree. Obviously, I think all of us would agree. I agree with the second one, with the younger one. Like don't come here thinking that nothing is going to change and it's going to be what it is forever. Like, you need to understand that at any given point, you might need to cash in, and you need to be thinking about that with every decision that you make in an industry like trucking. Because like I said, I would, last thing I want to be is one of those individuals, whether it's in trucking or whether it's in anything, that like I've been here for 10 years and now because I didn't plant any other seeds, I'm limited on my choices. Yeah. So yeah. Continually learning and continually planting those seeds gives you that opportunity, and getting content takes that opportunity from you, I would say.
And Jim Rohn says it this way: in the 21st century, everyone should have more than one skill.
100%.
Like, everybody, you have more than one skill. Ain't no job security. There's no 30, 40-year career. I mean, possibly, but.
And ET says, man, you need to command all your gifts. You need to command all your gifts. So that's not just taking one skill, but everything God put in you, put to work in some sort of way.
It makes sense. That's what the animals do. That's what the animals do. They use their claws to their benefit. They use their teeth to their benefit. They use their tail to their benefit. They use their hair and their coating. They blend in. They use everything that they got to thrive and survive. Mm-hmm. That was a bomb example just now.
That was a
bomb example just now.
That was fire. That's fire. I like examples from nature, right? Like, look around. You got the answers all around you. So I'm curious about you. Did you have any burning questions when it came to this win-win conversation? Anything that you were interested in exploring? Or
not particularly. I know in the description I asked some questions about like how to determine your value to the marketplace, right? Because I think some of the challenges, especially for entrepreneurs, is like, what should I charge, right? Like, what are people? And with my financial services business, there was no like, I didn't charge a fee to like meet with me or to sit down, and I was willing to give information away for free. And I thought that if I gave enough value, people would be willing to pay whatever they saw fit for their plan, right? So it wasn't even about me. They were putting money into their plan, and that plan would serve them. But I could present the value in a way that they could make an informed decision about how to move forward. So that would be like, just figuring out like what that price is. And, with the pivot that I'm making right now, the market really dictates the price, right? Like, to be competitive, you gotta be in the mix. So you can't be priced too high, you can't be priced too low. Otherwise you'll either not get enough jobs, or you'll get a lot of jobs and
that don't pay nothing.
That you end up being losers on. So it's
so really, what you're saying is people are looking to pay right now. Is that what I'm hearing out there in the market?
Oh, absolutely.
You said not too high, not too low. That means somebody's paying out in the market.
Well, that's what the definition of
That is
of
what
the
the market
word
is, right?
market.
No.
That's what the market
So
is.
no,
People
that's
paying.
for those who you were talking about your value for thinking that you got to give everything away in order to track. No, there are the market is paying right now. Okay, for your
People
skill
spend
set.
people spend
Yes.
where they see value, right? Or people invest where they see value. So, and that's what I love about Eric Thomas, Secrets to Success. Like they give so much away. Like you get so much value even before you decide to spend money with them. And when you do decide to spend money with them, like you get tremendous value. You get even more value, like in addition to. So like that's the model that I've chosen to adopt. I'll give as much as I can away for free and not need the money, right? Like not need it. I just want to serve. I want to help. I want to add value to other people.
I got a product recommendation for you too.
I was gonna say I saw something recently where it said, man, either give your basically either do it for your fee or free. But like, no negotiate. Like, no, this is what my
I
market
agree.
value is. It's my fee or free.
Agree.
You know what I mean? Like, if
Have
you're
y'all
not
ever-
willing to pay my fee, like,
Have y'all ever heard of Jeff Walker?
I have not. No.
I got you. He has a book called Launch, but I mean he's also real big in the product launch space. And I've been looking at a couple of his videos this past week. The product launch formula is what you can find him under that search term. But just he talks about basically like how to market whatever it is your product is, your group, your service, your whatever it is. And one way that he talks about that you would like, Majida, I would think, is he talks about he talks about marketing in a way that it gives value as well. You know what I mean? Like whatever you have, you got to get people to see it. Whatever it is, if they don't know you, like Grant Cardone say, they can't flow you. We used to say in Kirby all the time, unseen, untold, unsold. If your product is unseen and your story is untold, it will be unsold. And so whatever you have, I don't care if it's a block of gold, you got to market it to people. Okay. And so that's kind of what we're talking about like right now. So, this product launch formula consists of educating in a sequence. And educating in a sequence to the point that you're attracting people that are interested in what you educating people on along the way, along the sequence. And then obviously towards the end of the sequence, you're going to let people know that you have a product that you're creating or that you already have that will help them with this process further. So you've attracted them by the marketing, and people can tell when you're marketing, whether you're just saying, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, or whether you're actually willing to give them something before you take from them. And right now, in this age of you should be willing to educate your prospect first before you ask for money. Like what's attractive to me is running across a company that has taken the time to build out a YouTube channel. And I just use a YouTube channel for example, because it's like, it ain't just a matter of me getting on the phone with them and them giving me their prices. It's like, let me go to their YouTube channel and they can educate me. I can get to know them. I can get to know what they stand for, what their mission is, who they've helped, how they've helped people. And then I make the decision on my own to get on the phone with them and let them talk to me. And this kind of goes in line with this Jeff Walker. That's why I mentioned it to you, this product launch formula, because it's like in this age right now, you don't have to just go right to the sale. Even I don't care if you just got a gold bar, they should want what I have. It don't matter what it is, you still got to market it. So it's like, take the time to educate your prospect and don't charge for the education. You don't have to. Like, you'll attract the people that you're looking for by the education that you're given, right? And so, like, I'm gonna educate them sequentially. I'm gonna put out a video every day for the next 3 days, a video every day for the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna put out a video every 3 days for the next 2 weeks, or whatever, and I'm gonna walk them from point A to point Z on how to do this one particular aspect of my service or my business that I offer. And I'm going to do it for free. Day 1 is going to be the first step. Day 2 is going to be the second step. Day 3, day 4, day 5. And at the end, I'm going to give them an invite to go further with me. And your conversion rates from the cold to the people that actually convert to people that become clients, I would imagine would be through the roof, because you're educating, you're giving, you're marketing, you're doing all of that all in one. To me, you know when your marketing is on point, when people want to see your advertisements. Certain ads, when they come on, I can't wait to hit the skip button. And certain ads, when they come on, they got me engaged throughout the whole process. Those are the ones that they're educating me. And they ain't charging me for that education. They just giving it away for free. But it's like give me the reason why I need to talk to you, why your product solves my problem. And like when you do that, it makes the sale so much easier. Like be willing to educate them and spend a little bit of time planting that seed so that it makes the sale, so that they convert.
Yeah, and
So,
I think
go ahead, Majida.
Well, no, I'm saying to that point though, like people are professional spenders, right? Like they don't need to be sold on, right? They don't need to be sold to. And so,
well, they're good at consuming, boy. Yes, they are.
but I'm saying to that, it's understanding, like have some respect for your client or your customer to allow them the opportunity to decide what's of value to them. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I think sometimes we can get caught up in, oh, I should do this, or I need to get that, or somebody told me I should. No. If you educate, you let them decide, you allow them to make an informed decision about whether they want to work with you, about whether they want to buy your product. So yeah, just have some respect for your client or your customer or your prospect in their ability to come up with the decision on their own, right? Like they don't need you to decide for them.
And I think that would be applicable to the first situation that we got into this conversation about, which was about children. Mm-hmm. I think what you just about to come back to that. I think that would apply to dealing with children.
Yes,
I think that would. Yeah, what you just said, Majida. Yeah,
come right. I was literally having that same.
I think that would apply to dealing with a child as well. Like I found myself saying, I know certain people that it's like I don't want to force my children to believe a certain thing. I want to let their beliefs kind of develop and evolve on their own. I want to help them understand how to process and interpret things, but I don't want to force my beliefs on them.
And in that, I found my message. It's not just I want them to listen to the children, but really teaching them how to respect the children, right? In order to get the respect that they want from the children, is show respect to the children, because they are human beings. They have their own minds, their own thoughts, their own ideas, and they can make certain decisions for themselves. If you give them and lead them down the educational path to make the decision.
I would agree.
Lead them down the educational path instead of force feeding what you think is the solution they need. Yes.
I feel like I've done an excellent job of that with my oldest daughter, Sakara. And I don't want to get off into that because I'm looking at time now, but I do feel like I've done an excellent job of that with Sakara. Like I've been very consistent in my dealings with Sakara. It's like, I love you, but I don't want to think for you, and I don't want to make your decisions for you, and I don't want to necessarily impose my beliefs on you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to, to support you. I'm here to console you. I'm here for that. But, I want to empower you. Big word. I want to empower you to make your own decisions. I think one of the things that us as parents, as influencers, but definitely as parents, one of the mistakes that we make is the way that we deal with our children. And this may apply to dealing with clients and prospects as well, but I would definitely say it comes to dealing with our children, is the way we deal with our children, to me, in a lot of cases, disempowers them. It doesn't necessarily instill confidence. It a lot of the times instills doubt, the way that we as parents and influential people in our children's life. Mm-hmm. Like if we deal with them the right way, they'll believe in themselves more. And if we don't deal with them the right way, they will doubt themselves all the way through, and that is disempowering. You can't be in
Absolutely.
2021 like you know what I mean, like not knowing your own value, like questioning your own value, doubting your own. You can't. Nah.
And that, you know what, that's what that experience was about.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
the child was expressing self-doubt, and it turned into the child being lectured, which I think was reinforcing more self-doubt, as opposed to asking questions to help the child unpack why they were thinking or feeling that way, and to lead them down a path where that self-doubt no longer served their aims.
And
Right?
they see it.
Educating them, and they see it, and they choose it for themselves, as opposed to being forced.
A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Yeah.
And another one like that is if you if you tell them, they reject it, but if they say it, they own it.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Oh man, I feel healed. I feel healed tonight. that we have a message now for the parents to show respect for your children, and for those entrepreneurs and influencers to show respect to your audience. You got to get to know them and educate them. Educate them by sharing your stories and sharing the solutions that come up in your story, and leading leading them down a path where they can decide for themselves whether the solution that you present through your story is a solution that they want and need to consume. And that's how you get the win-wins. Next time, no. I feel good about that. I feel good about that. That was really.
I think that's a great message. And with that though, to the audience, to the customers, to the children, right? We're speaking to the parents, or to the entrepreneurs, or to the influencers, but to those who are listening, you first must invest time in knowing yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, what other people say, it's everything somebody else says is going to sound good, right? So you end up buying a program that you don't actually use. You end up investing in a program that you never, take action on, because you don't know yourself. You're just, oh, this is what they said. I need to, let me hop on, let me get you all over the place. So really know who you are, know what you want, know why you want it, and it'll be so much. I used to get offers to come to network before COVID, everything was still in person. Come to this network marketing meeting, all these different invitations, and I was always reluctant to say no. I knew in my mind I wasn't interested, but I told myself that I need to keep an open mind, even though I knew I had no intention of joining another, but out of respect for the person or whomever that invited me, let me go check it out. Let me, show support or whatever. Now, somebody messaged me yesterday, and I haven't probably talked to this person in close to a decade. And I was like, bruh, I wish you the best, but I recognize that that's not, that business model does not suit my behavioral preference. I know myself now to where I can't move at that pace. That doesn't work for me. But man, all the best to you. Nope, not doing it. I'm not going to, and it's not that I don't want to grow. It's not even on that. I know myself, and I operate at a slower pace than that particular business model requires. And I'm okay with that, right? I don't feel deficient because I don't run at that speed, or that I'm not interested in running that speed. I'm not comparing myself to other people because nope, my pace works for me.
I like that. I feel like I've become the old dude who's like, I've seen enough of those. I got my model. I've seen enough of yours.
Welcome to the club.
Right. I feel like I'm getting close to that OG status, right? Where somebody approach you, and one of the questions I ask is, how long you been doing it? Not realizing, man, time in the game will teach you a lot. Enough time doing it. And I know entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Like it requires action. So, time at school or time in a job or something, I don't think it's comparable. That's just me personally. You can learn stuff, but you may be doing the same thing 15 years and not really growing. Entrepreneurship is going to grow you. It's going to stretch you, right? When you got to go out there and hunt. And so being out there is like, how long you been doing it? Oh man, a year. And I'm like, listen, let me give you some tips. Because here's what I learned in 3 years. And I mind those 3 years. You know what I'm saying? When I was in that industry, or this is my exposure. I can take it all the way back to, almost 10 years, right? Having exposures. Here's what I learned. Here's what I'm doing. If you're interested in it, we can talk. But like, I'm not interested. Like I've seen those. I've been in your seat. And here's what I want you to know from where you are. Focus on your growth. Focus on your values. Focus on what you want out of it. And focus on your own gifts. All right. Let me save you some time. Let me save you some time. But being in that position, man, I'm grateful for the experience, right? Is having a chance to be able to impart that kind of knowledge or experience to others and realizing every day, man, there's so much more value that's untapped within me. That is just like, it's working to force its way out. It's just like, let me out. You got so much value in you. A friend called me the other day, asked if I could do a cost analysis. And I was like, is cost analysis something that I do in my coaching? And I was like, I help people manage their income. I help people manage their time. I help people come up with strategies for how to increase profitability in their businesses. Yeah. Cost analysis actually is something I do, even though I'm focusing on habits. But that is something that I do. And so I was like, man, that's something else that I could tell a story about. Get out there and say, man, and it all started from me, enjoying math and teaching and tutoring. It inspired, one of those social media posts. It's like, man, do you really know what your time is worth? Look out for that. I'm gonna put that out tomorrow. Right.
But cool. I think I just want to make a quick analogy. So like, you love math, I love math, but we approach it very differently, right? You love math and you want to teach it and share it with people. I love math and I will point them to you to teach it and share it with them. I ain't doing all that. I love y'all, but I can't. That's knowing myself, right? And so understanding that like we are all uniquely different. We both love the same subject matter, right? We both love math. He wants to share it and teach it and tutor people. I want to tell people to go get taught and tutored, right? Look, you need to get tutored and taught in this subject matter. I may not be the one to teach and tutor you, but I know that you need the information. So I will point you in the direction of the person that can get you the information. That ain't me. That ain't what I do, right?
And I want to be the guy who's like, start here. That's me. Like, you want to get your life going? Start here. Yeah. I promise. Like, we're gonna lay it out for you. It's gonna take you some time. You need to spend some time with me. I'm just saying, but start here. Now, you want to get all of the extra high level stuff? Go get it. Because I'm still out here figuring out, because I'm so good at foundation. Like, let this be your starting point. Start here. Wherever you are in life, start here. Okay? You need a reset.
And once you have some competency, you can come talk to me, because then we can actually do something, right?
You'll have to come back, because I got foundation, but I got other layers too, right? But we just going to stay with foundation. But I'm going to send you to everybody to get the specified stuff that you're doing, because I know that I'm not doing it all yet. I got my sets of gifts, and I'm going to keep using my gifts. But there's a whole lot of things that I got, like, octopus arms that I'm connected to. Like, oh, you need that? Let me send you over there. Because I don't want to be a specialist in those. Like, I'm a specialist when it comes to the service side. I'm a specialist when it comes to the foundations, right? But a lot of people think foundation is low value.
Foundation is where all the money is made.
To me, that's foundation.
No, that's not
value.
That's a fact. Foundation is where all the money is made in any niche subject, whatever. Like most of the people in any area are looking for the basics. It's a lot of people looking for the basics and a little bit of people looking for the advanced stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you start here with Seer for support, encouragement, accountability, and recognition. We are the Seer Mastermind Group. Maurice Bay, the helpful trucker, Majida Bay, your financial conductor, and me, Bakar Obey, your habit and accountability coach. And man, this is a rich conversation. It took some time, but it came full circle as it usually does. And I feel real good. I feel real good at this conversation. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch, to catch all of the different nuggets. Tune in a couple of weeks when we come back, and we're gonna be bringing more gems, more knowledge, more wisdom, more experience, and more community. Come on, give me the air horns.
I told you, man, everything is like 3 feet away. My desk, the computer, my stream deck,
It's
all
gotta
that
be
stuff.
further than 3 feet because your arm reach gotta be at least.
You're right. You're right. It's about 4 or 5 feet over there, man. I'm back here. I'm back off. I'm trying different setups over here, man.
On that note, so we've made it to green screen level. That's one of them.
He's made it to green screen.
Hey, he made it. We made it. Okay.
Okay. Y'all got microphones and headsets. I'm still on the computer.
Your birthday's coming up. We'll get you. We'll get you right. All right, y'all. Hey, have a great night. We'll see you next time. And definitely come check out Seer Mastermind Group, the public group on Facebook, and come sit in on one of our mastermind conversations. All right. We're helping people get to the next level and really make measurable progress as a community, a family of support, encouragement, accountability, and recognition. All right. So we'll see y'all on the next call.
Peace.